All right, so how does a tiny local film, one with no big stars, mind you, end up becoming a box office giant? Well, today on The Explainer, we're going to unpack the incredible underdog story of a movie that pretty much defied all the odds. It completely rewrote the rules for success in Indian cinema.
Okay, so this chart right here, it pretty much tells the whole story in a nutshell. On the left, you've got a super small production budget, just 4 crore rupees. And then on the right, wow, a massive box office haul of over 43 crore rupees. And get this, that was in less than 2 weeks. We're talking a return of more than 10 times the initial investment. Just incredible.
So, that's the real puzzle, isn't it? How does a movie like this, with absolutely no big stars, coming out of a smaller regional industry, just explode into a national sensation? Well, the answer really starts with understanding the film itself. All right, let's get into it. To really get why this movie blew up, we first have to understand the film. So what exactly is Su From So?
So first things first, that title is actually a bit of a clue. Su From So, it's short for Sulokana from Someshwara. And that name is super important because it's the name of the ghost at the very center of the story and also the name of her village.
Okay, so on the surface, what you've got is a horror comedy. It's set in this small coastal village in Karnataka, and it's about a young guy who everyone thinks is possessed by a ghost. But, and this is the brilliant part, the real genius of the film is what's going on just underneath all the scares and the laughs. It's actually tackling some really serious social issues, especially the hardships that women face in these villages. And it does it so cleverly, without ever feeling like a lecture. It keeps all the fun.
And you gotta remember, this wasn't some big studio production. No way. This was a true grassroots project, right from the very beginning. It was the director's first ever film. There were no big banner names, no famous actors to pull in a crowd. It was honestly a massive risk.
Okay, so if it wasn't star power, and it wasn't a giant marketing budget, then what was the secret sauce here? Well, it turns out the recipe for this completely unexpected success really just boils down to 3 key ingredients.
All right, ingredient number 1, and this is probably the most important, just plain, authentic storytelling. The characters felt like real people you'd actually meet. The village setting, it felt totally lived in. The whole story just connected with audiences on a really deep, personal level. And that authenticity directly fueled the second ingredient, incredibly powerful word of mouth. See, the film actually had a slow start at the box office. But here's what happened. Everyone who saw it became like a passionate promoter. Both critics and regular moviegoers created this absolute tidal wave of recommendations, and that's what drove ticket sales straight through the roof. And finally, the third ingredient, it all came together because of a single, focused director's vision. The director, J.P. Tuminadu, didn't just direct the movie. He also wrote the script, and he starred as the main character. I mean, talk about wearing a lot of hats. That gave the whole film this really cohesive, personal touch that you just can't fake.
So you've got this perfect storm, right? Great storytelling, crazy word of mouth, and a really clear vision. But what does that actually look like when you translate it into cold, hard numbers? This, my friends, is where the scale of the success becomes truly mind-boggling. Let's start with the budget. The filmmakers started with a really modest 4 crore rupees. Now, to put that in perspective, that's a tiny, tiny amount for a feature film. But then, in less than 2 weeks, thanks to that just overwhelming audience response, the box office earnings absolutely exploded past 43 crore rupees.
I mean, just do the math on that for a second. That is a return on investment of over 10 times. It instantly made it one of the most profitable and definitely one of the most talked about Indian films of the entire year.
A runaway hit like this, it's never going to stay in just one region for long. So naturally, the big question became, what happens next? Where does Su From So go from here?
Well, the film is already on the move. After its monster run in Kannada, it's been dubbed into Malayalam for release in Kerala, and a Telugu version is right around the corner. And for everyone else, a streaming release on Amazon Prime is expected in September, which is going to take this amazing local story to a truly global audience. So this whole incredible journey, right, from a tiny local film to a national sensation, it leaves us with one really big question. In an industry that is so often obsessed with massive budgets and big-name movie stars, has Su From So just handed us a whole new blueprint for success? Maybe one where the only superstar you really need is a great story.